Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.
These are tough times, and they're getting even tougher. The clock is ticking. The countdown to collapse is well underway. What are you going to do about it? Will you just wait for it to happen, or will you be ready when it happens? The decision is yours, and yours alone. Join myself, Mickey Fulp, Robert Ian, David Morgan, Jeff Berwick, Elijah Johnson, Alan Butler, Gregory Manarino, Daniel Amaduri, Andy Hoffman, Tekoa Da Silva, Trace Mayer, one of the world's leading Bitcoin authorities, Bix Weir, Jay Taylor, and Gary Christensen at the Liberty Mastermind Symposium in Las Vegas on February 21st and 22nd, and learn how to create your plan to survive the collapse. The last Liberty Mastermind Symposium was one of the most highly rated conferences ever, and this one promises to be even better. Don't miss it. Join us and register now at libertymastermind.us. libertymastermind.us. This one is going to be out of this world, and it's going to be even better because it's in Las Vegas, Nevada. Go to Liberty Mastermind US and sign up today. You are listening to the FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com. I'm Kerry Lutz on 1230 WBZT. Well, when is a trillion really 4 trillion? And when does it really matter? Well, I'm not sure about that, but when you're talking about the U.S. budget and how much we're paying in taxes and who's spending it and the U.S. Congress, well, that's when it comes into play. And here to talk about it, our very own Andrew Hoffman. Andy, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. And, you know, this is just such an important topic, which really just came about due to our impromptu podcast discussion. And I'm frankly floored. It's just so incredible how screwed this country is.
Well, yeah, we were talking about it, and you're saying, well, the budget's only $1 trillion. And I said, wait, Andy, the budget hasn't been $1 trillion hasn't only been $1 trillion since Reagan was president, because I remember we were just getting close to $1 trillion budget back then, and that was 30 years ago. I think we're closer to around 3.5 or 4 trillion, and we start researching it. We're looking at hundreds of blogs, and they all seem to think that the budget is $1 trillion. And finally, there's one guy out there with a brain who says, no, discretionary spending's $1 trillion. All the Social Security, the Medicare, the Medicaid, the Obamacade, it's all mandatory spending, and that's at around $3 trillion. That can't be touched. That just goes into the pot. The checks get written. Actually, they're, wire transfers or, ATCs, or what do they call those things? I don't remember, but the money just goes out. It comes in, it goes out, it gets printed up, and it gets sent out, and that's it. I guess also the food stamps fall into that category as well. Mandatory spending, right?
So when the press, when Paul Ryan and Patty Murray get up on that stage and say the budget is increasing from $977 billion to $1.012 trillion, and the entire news force of the entire world parrots it, it was a complete and utter lie. That was only 1/4 of the entire $4 trillion budget, 3/4 of which, including, as you said, Social Security, Medicare, et cetera, is untouchable.
Right.
So when they say that there's $20 billion of annual savings over a decade, which is not really true because most of the savings are in years 9 and 10, and they even say there's no taxes when some of it is taxes. It's really only, $20 billion out of $4 trillion of spending.
Yeah, it's a total fraud. It's a complete, unmitigated, unvarnished, complete fraud, because now they're just using shorthand, and nobody picked up on it but you and me, Andy. And everyone else glossed over it.
And even I didn't think about it because if we're having $1 trillion deficits every year, how can you have $1 trillion budget?
Right.
But the thing is, you get so ensconced in all these millions of numbers they put out, some true, some half true, some not true at all. And you try to catch up to the other million things going on that it just didn't process. But it should process for like a Bloomberg reporter that's writing about it. And certainly the members of Congress should have said it. I highly doubt that either Patty Murray or Paul Ryan at any time during that speech used the word discretionary.
No, because they're minimizing it. They're glossing over it. And they don't want you to think. They want you to just absorb uncritically, and everything's under control. Nothing can go wrong. We're taking care of you. We have your best interests at heart. Go back to sleep, sheeple. Everything's fine. Just get your EBT card. Go to a strip joint. Go gamble. Just go to McDonald's. I think McDonald's takes EBT cards, don't they? Don't worry about it. Just
don't know.
Just,
I haven't been there.
Just do whatever you're doing. Stay asleep and don't think. Above all, just don't think, and certainly don't think critically. We can't have you doing that. That would really be a problem. If a lot of you started to think critically, that could really shake things up, and we might lose our jobs. So please, whatever you do, don't ever have a critical thought in your head, because that could cause us problems.
And you should focus on tapering.
Yes, taper. And if you don't really need to think about that, just go watch American Idol or America's Got Talent, or, there's a lot of reality TV shows that'll just keep you out of trouble and out of our hair. And please stay away, okay?
And hopefully you're not watching American Idol, because that is the most obsolete of all of them.
Just whatever you need to watch, just watch and just leave us the hell alone. We have things under control, right?
Right. Heck, Simon left 5 years ago. I can't believe anyone's still watching.
Well, there's a few million people watching it. And speaking of that tapering thing, that seems to be as obsolete as American Idol, doesn't it?
Yeah, green shoots of recovery, exit strategies, etc. The problem back in June was there was so much pressure with the rising stock market that Benny created with all this money printing, that at some point there gets to be, I don't want to say political pressure, but worldwide pressure to be like, guys, are you going to do something or what? Are you just going to keep printing money? You're telling us things are getting better all the time. Well, do something. So Benny made his little comment, well, we may start tapering if the economy gets better. And of course, Janet Yellen said pretty much the exact same thing in her hearing. We may start tapering if the economy gets better. That's perfect Fed speak. The problem is the economy hasn't got better by any objective means. I mean, you could say the quote unemployment rate went down, but it's anyone reading those numbers with half a brain could see it's down because of labor participation. Of course, the jobs stink. And in 2 weeks, actually not even 2 weeks, when 1.4 million people go off the unemployment payrolls, which are not being extended, we may well get to 6.5% unemployment next month without any jobs being created.
Hey, and I want to read you some numbers. We didn't talk about this before, but it's going to put everything in perspective here, Andy. Okay. Presidents of U.S. colleges and universities fundraise with donors, preside over graduation ceremonies, and provide his or her university with long-range strategic vision. They are also paid handsomely for their work. 42 private college presidents earned more than $1 million in 2011. So there's top 10 highest paid. I'm just going to go to the top 5. Number 1, Robert Zimmer, University of Chicago, $3.358 million. 2, John Aoun, Northeastern University. That's where my oldest daughter graduated from. Great school, by the way. She did get a good job, and she's not in debt. $3.121 million. 3, Dennis Murray, Marist College. That's in New York, right? Marist. Can you believe this guy's number 3? $2.688 million. But
you don't need to go any further with numbers like that. I'm frankly in awe that a college president could make that much money. But then again, if you look at inflation in general, somehow education has inflated more than anything. And
yeah, 11-fold.
Political lobbying system is part of it, but 3.3 million.
Yeah, listen to this.
College?
But listen, I should have read the headline. I'm sorry, that I was remiss. College student debt soars, semicolon. College presidents' pay skyrockets. So that headline is really kind of the key because, the two go hand in hand, right? And that's the beauty. As student loan debt has surpassed 1 trillion, all right, and I think that number is real, unlike the phony federal budget numbers. College grads leave school with an average of 26.6 in loans, all right? So that means that's the average, and that means there's some people leaving with 6 figures in debt and others leaving with 5 or 4 figures in debt. So, and it's just really a metaphor for what's happening in the economy and explains a lot, right?
Hey, when I went to SUNY Albany in, between 88 and 92, I paid $7,000 a semester. It's now 20 for in-state students and 28 for out-of-state students. This is SUNY Albany, not Harvard.
And
by the way, you'll get the same education at SUNY Albany as at Harvard, except you get a better job if you go to Harvard.
Hey, do you know what the average grade in Harvard is?
C+ or something.
No, A-. And the fact is that I think 90% of the kids graduating from Harvard graduate with honors. When I went to Pace University, which is rated number 172 in the country, incidentally, and believe me, I don't understand that at all, because I always say when I went to Pace, I took up space, but and it wasn't aeronautics. At the time, I was spending $1,500 per semester, $100 a credit. Okay, now the annual tuition there is $34,000 a year, not including room and board.
At Pace?
Yeah, at Pace. And New York Law School, I was spending $4,500 a year, and literally I graduated. And the last 2 years, I mean, I seldom went to a class, I have to admit. It was pointless after your first year of law school. You were practically a lawyer after the first year because you learned how to read a case. My second, third year, so there were classes I never went to, and for years afterwards, I had dreams that I wasn't going to graduate from law school because I didn't pass those tests. And, it was just, I made back my entire 3 years tuition my first year of graduating in one case, believe it or not, that I won.
I believe it.
Yeah, it was amazing. You can't do that anymore.
The whole grading system, the reason I said C+ is because, once you're in Harvard, what's the motivation? Who cares if you graduate with honors or not? Plus, these things are all bell curve anyway.
Yeah.
The teacher can literally decide, the school can decide, we want our reputation to look good, so we will make a bell curve so that everyone A- is the average. So it keeps our reputation. They could make any grade they want. I remember bell curves where a 70 was an A, depending on what everyone else got. And, and then, of course, it's, what kind of questions you ask, and essay questions. Like we don't have to go into what college has become and how it's unfruitful for almost anyone going anymore. And it's certainly unaffordable and getting more so each day. Look, to me, college was just a luxury Americans were afforded by having the reserve currency. We were able to live above our means and send our kids to go party for 4 years. And, you can work hard, and there are a few majors that were worthwhile, but most people didn't take those majors like engineering and medicine.
STEM, science, technology, engineering, math.
Yeah. And of course, medicine, no one's taking now. I mean, you'd be suicidal to try to go to medical school and then deal with Obamacare and malpractice insurance and all that stuff. It's, it's like going to Harvard. Going to medical school. It's impossible.
Yeah, it's insane. So then we get to our precious metals where prices are below the cost of production still. Yeah,
and by the way, I wanted to mention again the tapering. We're back to, Bernanke felt he had to say something. So he said those ambiguous words in May, which, of course, Yellen repeated because she has to go both ways, too. Yeah, maybe I will, maybe I won't. But they both know that they can't do anything material. And the pressure is on them now because markets have gone up so much and because these idiots in the BLS have decided that we should say GDP is 3.5% and the unemployment rate is plummeting when, I mean, they're really not. I mean, these are not real numbers, but they have to say something. And, if I had to guess, I'd say they probably won't do much this week because it's year end and they don't want to screw up the Wall Street bonuses and because Bernanke is leaving. But even if they did, so what? They'll change it a tiny bit, right? It doesn't matter. And they'll do a lot covertly, like 3/4 of the budget doesn't count. Well, who knows how much of the QE we don't know about. But more importantly, just on the slight hint that this might happen, interest rates have doubled. The 10-year is sitting right now at 2.89%. Low interest rates is what the entire economy, what the entire world is addicted to. We can't sustain a 2.9% 10-year rate in this country, much less 3.9 or 5.9. So this is the ultimate in tightrope walking, because if they taper and they don't have the right language and people get freaked out, you can look up a month from now, it'll be a 3.9. And we're going to be talking about cratering stock markets, housing markets, and sentiment for everything. And this would be right as Benny left, talk about leaving a legacy. So, the whole country is just in such bad shape. And, the fact that this tapering thing is even spoken of as important just shows you how desperate the propaganda has become at the end here.
Yep, it could all hit the fan very quickly, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you mentioned precious metals. My piece this morning, it'll be out later today, is about, again, what I've written of for many, many times before, as have Bill and David, that the cost of production is a floor for anything. I mean, I was an oil analyst for 10 years, from 96 until 2005. When you had that big smash in 1998, 99, it wasn't a cartel hitting the price. They had a cartel supporting it. The whole industry pretty much collapsed. Exxon and Mobil merged, Chevron and Texaco, BP and Amoco and Atlantic Richfield. They slashed spending. That's what's going on in the mining industry, except there's a cartel making things worse. I mean, the capex in the silver industry was down 62% year over year. All the major growth projects are gone. There's a whole bunch of mines that are sitting ready to be mothballed right now. And the average price that's needed for gold is probably $1,500 an ounce all in. That's what the CEO of Goldfields just said a few months ago. And they're the fourth largest producer in the world. And according to Steve St. Angelo, again, it was verified, without $25 silver, there is no sustainability of the industry. You'd need $22 silver just for them to report operating profits, let alone before depletion, depreciation, amortization, taxes, interest, all that stuff. The industry is dire. And, if you listen to the podcast I did with Dan Amador the other day, he went to the San Francisco Mining Conference last month, which is pretty much the biggest mining conference in this country.
It's a morgue. The place was a morgue.
He said there were 60 mining companies there versus 200 last year. And some of them were paid to show up just to look like there was something going on. This industry is
They're shilling.
Dead. Yeah.
They're shilling. And he's going to be at the Liberty Mastermind Symposium, by the way.
That's right.
Along with you.
Good man.
Yeah, good guy. We got a lot of new people who are going to be there. February 21st and 22nd in Lost Wages, or a.k.a. Las Vegas. And Robert Ian's putting it together again. Going to be a great time. You got to show up there. You got to be there. Going to be fun. And at the Embassy Suites, not too far off the Strip. So you want to go try your luck at the tables, you'll be able to. It's going to be a lot of fun. So libertymastermind.us. And hey, it's going to be even better than last time. We learned a few things as well. So go there, right?
Absolutely. I thought the last one was amazing. All that talk about freedom, and not just financial freedom. It was very inspiring, and I look forward to participating this year.
Hey, and this one, the theme is The Clock is Ticking, Countdown to Collapse.
Sounds like fun.
Hey, one other thing. Comex inventories. What's the deal there?
Well, man, I've been doing everything I can to bone up on this archaic topic since so many of the numbers are opaque, to say the least. I've been talking to Harvey Organ and Turk Bergson.
He's the expert on that, right,
yeah.
Harvey?
And, look, the fact remains that there's 600,000 ounces of registered inventory, down from 3 million in April before this big smash started. For the December contract, which closes at the end of the month, in like a week and a half, there's still something like 500,000 ounces. I think 400,000 that are standing for delivery, and another maybe 50 or 100,000 that are still open and may or may not, and probably will stand for delivery. So unless some magical source of gold comes in, we're looking at having almost no inventory to end the year. And yet still gold sits at $12.45, assuming that somewhere some gold is going to come in. What do you think is going to happen to the price of gold if we end the year at just 150 or 200,000 ounces of registered inventory? I mean, that's chump change to, forget the 3,000 billionaires. There's probably 3 million people on the earth who can take that gold out, let alone all the sovereign wealth funds and the institutional holdings. It's comical. There were 8,000 tons of gold that were delivered from the Shanghai Exchange in the last 4 years. I mean, compared to probably next to nothing from the Comex. And yet the pricing still occurs in this ridiculously rigged market.
Yeah, I would say if I didn't know better, I'd think there was gambling going on.
Well, it's not gambling. Gambling means it's a risk. This is the government printing money and naked shorting. And meanwhile, Ted Butler says, based on the bank participation, that J.P. Morgan has now 65,000 contracts long in gold. They don't go long unless they're going to win, because J.P. Morgan is the government right now.
They are the house.
Mm-hmm.
They are the house. On that note, milesfranklin.com, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Sign up for the newsletter. We are going to have a great piece on SantaCon, and it's a metaphor. You only had to be there to see it. And, hey, libertymastermind.us. You really want to be there. It's going to be special this time, even more so than last time, if that's possible. And, Andy, we will talk to you next week.
Absolutely.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
Our friend Tom Dyson at the Palm Beach Letter is giving away free copies of a really cool report he put together called How to Protect Yourself from America's New Secret Police. Inside, you'll learn all sorts of simple, everyday tricks you can use to make yourself a little less visible and vulnerable to scammers, hackers, and even the federal government. For instance, inside Tom's report, you'll learn which free internet email service never to use. This company doesn't care if your account gets hacked or not, or things the government must tell you if they request your social security number. And how to spot skimmers lying in wait on ATMs and gas pumps, and much, much more. These tricks and secrets are low-hanging fruit ideas. You don't have to invest time or much money into them. Most are free. But by taking some basic measures, you can make your privacy much harder to invade than your neighbors. Tom's report is available for a limited time to listeners who take a trial subscription to his newsletter. Just visit the Financial Survival Network homepage for more information, or go to www.palmbeachletter2.com. That's www.palmbeachletter2.com. Hi, it's Kerry Lutz. I recently decided to move my retirement account into physical precious metals to hedge against the coming times. If you want to move an existing retirement account into physical precious metals that you can hold in your hand, tax-free, there's no company that can do it more quickly and efficiently than Regal Assets. It took them just 24 hours to open my new IRA account, and all I had to do was fill out one simple form. The best part is that Regal Assets does all the work for you. They cover the setup and administrative costs for 2013. If you're interested in making the same move I did, call 855-678-66 855-678-6620. 855-678-6620. That's 855-678-6620, or visit them at regalassets.com. You'll be glad you did, and tell them Kerry sent you.
The Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.